I'm Greg Jones, and this is The Capital Machine, where execution friction becomes strategic growth.
Hey there, Casey. Thank you for taking time to come and talk to us and appreciate you joining the show. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to jump right in.
Let's do it. I appreciate it,
All
Greg.
right. Yeah, absolutely. So just to begin with, tell me a little bit about the origin story of Tekletics and how did it start and why?
Yeah. So I've been in the tech space for about 20 years, and I've bounced around a few different industries, and I've kind of always been focused on data, but then I've had some stints in cybersecurity and app dev and everything else. But I came in through tech, call it 20 years ago, from a boot camp. I don't even think they were called boot camps at the time, but that's what it was. It was a 3 month training program to get me up to speed. And then I finished through that, and then I started working for on the floor as a consultant, and it
Right.
wasn't anything that I did in the boot camp. I spent all
Of
that time
course.
going through it. I start on something completely brand new. And I'm like, well,
It's
that
like
was
college.
kind of a waste. Yeah, very similar. Anyway, I did that for several years. And then I was working for a healthcare company in Denver, and my partner is a guy named Dan Jones. And did you say you were from Phoenix, from the Phoenix
Yes,
area?
yes.
Right.
Yeah, I'm from the Phoenix area.
So this you know the name Frank Kush?
Yes.
Okay. So Dan played football for Frank at ASU.
Oh, nice.
And they were having lunch one day, and Frank said, "Hey, you got into technology. When are you going to do something to give our football players an option where if they're not going to go pro, let's figure out a way to give them a career
That's
in tech?"
awesome.
Dan called me up and said, "Hey, I'm sitting here at Carson Golf Course down here having lunch with Frank Kush. And Frank says we need to figure out a way to turn football players into coders. So I need you to come down here to Phoenix and help me figure out how to build this." So that's one of those things where, for me, I get a call like that. Like, I think I probably had the bags packed before I had the phone,
Absolutely.
right? It sounded really fun. So that's how we got started, right? That's how we got the name Tekletics, right? It was our
Right.
first partnership was with ASU's athletic department, and
That's
it
very
wasn't
cool.
just football players; it was wrestlers and volleyball players and soccer players and
Right.
everything that you can think of coming through that. And we kind of started it as a boot camp, and then we've evolved it. Now it's not really that; it's a service model with a twist. We flipped the value proposition in consulting, but we started it. Let's call it 12 years ago, something like that. And we've just continued evolving it. I take the CTO role within the company. I help plug the gaps, and we're
Right.
strategically aligned and moving the right way. The customers are happy and the people are getting what they need. So it's been a
Yeah, that's excellent.
evolution, but in a nutshell, that's it. That's how we got started.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great start. That's a very unique start.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet there were lots of interesting hurdles in the beginning. Speaking of that, what's the hardest part of proving that your model works to customers, talent, and investors? One in the beginning, and then second today.
It was interesting, right? I told you I came through an early concept of a boot camp, right? And then I wasted a bunch of time coming into it, right? And then I'm not saying it was bad, right? It got me to where I am, no regrets or anything, but it wasn't efficient, right? The theory when we came into this was, hey, boot camps work, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
they've got issues and there's inefficiencies that come from that, but they work. So we're going to flip the model a little bit. And what we're going to do instead of having a generic boot camp is every single customer we go to, we're going to tailor the course specifically to them, their exact tech
Oh, that's
stack,
perfect.
everything that comes through it.
That's great.
So we started doing it that way, and we get through not even through. The first one was a 3 month boot camp that we did, and we get about a month through it. And I
Right,
called up Dan, and I said, "Hey, listen," I said, "this is working. We're taking non-traditional tech people, and
right.
where they're writing code. They're legitimately writing code, right?
That's
Month in.
impressive.
So the only thing is, we're wasting our time. We're wasting our time. We're wasting their time. We're wasting the
Right,
customer's time because I'm having them sit here and build widgets that nobody cares about in this boot
right,
camp. What they should be doing is building an actual deliverable, a product for
right.
this customer with some
Yep.
guidance from a senior subject matter expert to make
Little,
sure that
little on
it's,
the job training.
yeah, to make sure it's delivered the way it's supposed to be,
Absolutely.
but at a much lower rate. Instead of
Yeah,
paying the typical Accenture, Deloitte, two, four
right.
hundred dollars an hour, whatever it is, we flip that value proposition, we get it done a lot cheaper. So
That's brilliant.
That's when we made
Yeah.
the switch, the concept
Yeah.
of how to
That's a
do
brilliant
this.
concept.
Yeah, and I think back when we first started doing that, we'd walk into places and they'd almost start laughing, right?
Of course.
You're telling me you're taking a bunch of kids that don't have any background in this and you're going to deliver mission critical systems with it, right?
Right.
And so when we first started, that was almost universally the how the meeting would start. And then we had our first proof statement, big proof statement that we had on this. And I always have this, and you have podcasts, so I'll try to let people hear it if they're not watching.
Uh-huh.
I've got a bunch of ground up hard drives in this. And the first project that we ever did at scale, and we've done some smaller ones, but where we flipped this and said, okay, it's not a boot camp anymore, it's a service. We're
Right.
going to do consulting, we're going to do mission critical stuff. And we took a team of 10 people with non traditional tech backgrounds. Most of them had no experience.
Yeah.
We decommissioned a $4 or $5 million Teradata system with that, and we went up on the bids against Accenture and Deloitte and Emphasis and all those other guys.
The big
And
dogs.
we crushed the U.S. competition on prices, and then we beat the offshores on prices.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
But we did it on time, on budget. And there's a handful of people across the country that have these little trophies now. And I always keep this as a great reminder for how this thing works. So that silenced a lot of people of being able to do it at that scale of a project and that complexity against the names that we beat out.
You had your proof now.
And then since then, one of the beautiful things is the way our model's built. People generally, there's a feel good piece about doing this, right? Giving these opportunities to people.
Yeah.
So generally, our customers love coming in and giving the testimonials. They get really attached to the teams that come into it.
That's incredible.
But to the point now, I've got a decade plus of customer testimonials saying that it's not me anymore that has to say, hey, this is going to work if we do this.
Right.
Put the senior subject matter expertise to insulate the horsepower. We can let the lower cost horsepower drive the project and we get a much better price on it. So that used to be the thing, right? It was, how is this even possible? And now when that question comes up, I've got a decade of customer CIO, VP of IT, VP of finance testimonials to point to on it. So that used to be the really tricky part though.
Yeah. And now you've got the proven success record with your service and offering. And then you've also got the stories that come with it too of the people. And that makes it even that much more powerful.
Yeah. And I said earlier, athletes, right? It's not just athletes. It started with athletes, but now, I mean, I've got I love it when veterans come in. They've got, here's the thing, when you do something like this, when you're using a model like this, you got to have the right kind of people that come in to do it. And it's not necessarily tech background that's going to make somebody successful. It's these intangibles about the people, right? I need people that have a really strong work ethic, and I need people that have a legitimate interest in tech.
100%.
It's not about where they went to school or what kind of tech they've worked in. I need those things. And I know if I find those people, I can't teach them. I can't hire anybody that's going to teach those things to people. I need people that inherently have that as part of their character. And then I can go buy the 15, 20-year subject matter expert that's going to come in and guide the tech piece for this.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
But yeah, it's to make it successful, we've got to have that kind of makeup. We've got to have those kind of people to come in and drive the success of these projects.
Yeah, it sounds like a brilliant cost and positioning strategy. So,
that's been the goal. The goal.
That's awesome. So with that said, lots of successes with the people that you brought on board for these projects. What assumptions about training the non-traditional IT talent turned out to be completely wrong?
Yeah, I'll go back to the athletes, right? I didn't know. I got the phone call. I told you, I got Frank Kush wants you to come down and turn football players into coders. I'm not going to say no to that. A little afraid about a little risk involved in this.
There's definitely some risk there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, I look back and like, I don't know. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe it's not. It's going to be a fun try. That was the goal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I look back, there was a girl, Maddie Wolf. She was an all Pac-12 soccer player. She was one of the first people that we hired in there.
Oh, that's cool.
And I remember interviewing her in Sky Song. It's one of the buildings on campus with ASU. And I interviewed her and I said, why do you want to do this? And she was like, honestly, my degrees in supply chain. I think this would be an interesting thing. I don't really know anything about coding, but it does sound interesting. I was like, what have you done that makes you think that? And she started going through in her supply chain classes, and she was like, I have no coding background. And then she's walking through how she was doing stuff to pump data into Excel and then visualize it
Right.
in Power BI. And I was like, do you like
That's
doing
cool.
that? She's like, yeah, so great. So that's coding, first of all. That
Yes.
is that you are coding right there. There's different levels of syntax and everything. So you look at the things that that are going to have an interest in a way to transfer it. But I really thought, like everybody, that if you're going to go against bleeding edge tech to build out to decommission a legacy Teradata cluster and build it with an open source, I still have from this project we did. I've got about 1,000 pounds of bare metal in that closet for the first prototype Hadoop cluster we built, where
Oh,
we
wow. That's
transitioned
cool.
this Teradata cluster to that. But the idea is to do that, to build something like that out, you're going to need like the top 10% of the class of Michigan that came out and did it. Not saying I don't want the top 10% of the class of Michigan that came out on projects, but the point is, I don't need that. I need a strong senior that can guide delivery and everything on that. But the critical piece on that is I need the people with exceptional work ethic. And
Absolutely.
with athletes, that was a really interesting thing. I just took it for granted, but didn't think about the kids that went to and played whatever at ASU they're some of the best athletes in the country.
Yeah, they're already driven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
extreme amounts of work
Yeah.
ethic that
Right.
people have to display to be successful at that level. And not
Absolutely.
only that, but teamwork, right? There's no coding jobs today where somebody's going to sit there in the cave and kind of code by themselves. Coding is a
Right.
team driven
Right.
product now. That's just the way
Right.
it
Right.
is. So some of those intangibles, I didn't understand how they were going to be so transferable into being successful as long as you could, like I said, mentor and put some guardrails up to help people make
Yeah,
people
that's
successful.
incredible. That's an interesting beginning story and a lot of journey and successes. And I'm sure there was some challenges there too. So, given that in mind, what did you get right early on that still gives you an edge over traditional consulting firms today?
Onboarding for sure. This is, like I said, we when we first started out, the thought was we're going to do a boot camp, right? We're gonna do this, and then we pivoted and we were like, no, we're not going to do that because the best
How long
teacher
did that pivot take before you made that pivot?
we did it. We were doing the boot camp that I told you about, where a month into it. See, this is part of it. Like we're a small, nimble team. We're able to make
Okay,
changes pretty quickly.
that's great.
We've always been had an agile focus from that
Right,
perspective.
right.
But that was the idea then. We're like, hey, we got to switch this. We got to move this and do something different to be successful with this. And the thought process was we got to get people say now it's feeling pain. That's the way you get better. It's the only
Absolutely.
way you get better. You don't learn from the wins, you learn from the losses.
The magic happens in the struggle.
That's where it happens. The thought was, okay, let's give people a crash course so that they've at least tasted it before, right? Before we come in and we throw them in the fire with the seniors and get to work. But let's get them in there feeling that pain as quickly as we can, and then help provide some guidance and make sure that they don't get overwhelmed with it, but start feeling pain. And that was a very early, lucky realization that we came to, because what that does, the other thing that does is you have a customer that comes in that wants to build something out, and now instead of when they can say, hey, what's the timeline to get started, I can say within 30 days we're boots on the ground, right? Full team,
Nice.
juniors, seniors, whatever it
Right.
is, we're within 30 days we're ready to rock. And most of the time we're doing it in 2 weeks, you know what I mean? So
That's
as
really good.
especially when you're talking like AI use cases and some of this bleeding edge
Hmm.
Teradata to AI to Hadoop or something like that,
Yeah, that's a
where
good
you,
ramp
you
up
have
time.
limited subject matter experts, and the typical approach is you would do that with a team of 4 or 6 heavy seniors to do something like
Right.
that. I just have to find one. And then I
Right.
have to find a team of rock stars that are just hungry, right? People that are going to
Right.
come in and they're hungry and they're motivated and they're interested, and I
That's
can use
incredible.
that subject matter expertise to get them in and make sure that they're successful and the project's successful. That was that was something that it's for sure it's driven. That's one part of the formula that we have not changed.
That's a very successful part of it. That's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good team structure and good approach to, especially to staffing things like that quickly, especially when there's such a shortage of good, high caliber talent these days.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that was it. We didn't want to get into the position where we were always constantly trying to find that talent. We wanted to be able to
right.
build the talent.
Yeah, that's
That was
awesome.
our theory for it.
So with that in mind, with finding talent, where are you seeing the most friction right now? Is it finding the right talent? Is it customer acquisition, delivering at scale? Is it the new technologies?
Boy, there's always maybe all
All of the
areas
above.
is the
Absolutely.
challenge. And it's funny because there's different theories on that. There's the, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
Right.
As long as it's working, let's just focus on our area of focus. And then there's the other area that is get comfortable being uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Finding other places where you might be able to find some success. I think that's more us finding customers, right? Finding customers for one. Kind of the traditional way. It's funny. It's not even long-term traditional, but more recent history, traditional email campaigns, LinkedIn campaigns, cold calls, even that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now it's AI, right?
Yeah.
Like it's generally, if you had, let's say a year ago, you're a sales guy, you're crafting out an email campaign with a cadence of how you're going to reach out to all these people and how you're going to respond to their responses and everything else. AI is that now.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
platforms out there that can do it, and they do it really
Yeah.
well.
They do very good. Yes.
Almost too well is what I've
Yeah.
seen. Like I've seen somewhere, like you can look at the email and be like, clearly there's too much research
Right.
that's been done, right? This
Right.
is not, this couldn't realistically
It's a little
happen.
overkill. Yeah.
That's one of those things where, okay, that's not necessarily working so well anymore. Now you got to pivot. You got to find a better way to do it. Onboarding, right? Getting projects up to speed. It used to be you would rely on the subject matter experts solely to be able to do some of that. You'd have to build
Right.
out documentation, do your research. AI is offloading some of that,
Right.
and it's making it
Absolutely.
easier. It's
Yes.
making that learning curve
Yeah.
less steep to get in and
Absolutely.
less painful. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that I think that are changing with it, but for sure, getting to customers, I think for sure is changing
Yeah. How much of your current workflow and processes have you adopted AI to help out with?
everywhere.
Like percentage wise?
We're big eat your own dog food kind of people. You know what I
Right.
mean? So recruiting
Yeah.
10 years ago, if I had a rec out for a developer, I'll take the Teradata, right? This guy. I had 10 people that we hired for that. I might have had 30, 40 resumes that I
Right.
had for it. And I got lucky. I got some really good people
Right.
that came in
Absolutely.
from that. But now I'll put a rec out and I might have 2,000-3,000 candidates that come into
That's
it.
incredible.
And what's tricky is everybody says you got to have your way of getting through the candidate pool that you have out there. What's different about me is, like I said, I'm focusing on the person, not the paper. I don't, the resume is what it is, right? But it
Right.
doesn't tell me anything about someone's work ethic. It doesn't tell me
Right.
anything really about their interest in tech, even though they may highlight things in there that are
Right.
non-work things. That's where we use some proprietary stuff, and we
To
feed.
find that gap and fill in that
Yeah,
gap.
we try to find the
Yeah, that's good.
intangibles, and we see
That's
if
good.
there's
Yeah.
anything in that resume
Yeah.
that can point us to
That's
the
good.
intangibles. And
Yeah.
you probably miss people in some cases
Right.
because of that. And I
Sure.
think that's a point that, like, anybody that's listening to this, if you're applying for a job in technology, list the things you work on, not just
Right.
the bullet points for the
Right.
jobs that you've been
It
at.
shows the whole person.
Tell
Absolutely.
who you are. That's that you got
Right.
one page, maybe two, to tell who you are, and
Right.
that's an important part, especially today with
Abs-
AI. That's
Absolutely.
a very
Yeah.
important thing.
I think that's an excellent point.
But yeah, from recruiting to performance evaluation to onboarding customers to building contracts to sales to literally everything.
Yeah.
AI
That's awesome.
touches it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. It's definitely a great force multiplier.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and especially in your situation where you've got the good talent plus the good technology, it's just a lethal combination. So that's
that's the
great.
goal, right?
Abs-
Yeah. What was the several months ago? Mark Cuban had the quote. They said there's in the future there's two kinds of companies. There's the kind that adopt AI, and there's the ones that they put out of business. That's the
Right. Yep.
I don't know if it's that drastic or not, but it's kind of starting to feel like that. I want to be on the right side.
Absolutely. Yeah. You and me both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's blocking you from scaling 10x now? Or is it? Or are you guys scaling at the rate you want to? Is it training pipeline? Is it customer demand? Is it the new AI adoption?
Yeah, I think, and this is just reality. I think it's always been this way, but lots of things change. I think sales is a new challenge with it. What's really interesting is you see, I'll say sales is a challenge like always, right? It's
Right.
always painful. But you'll see what was the thought of 10 years ago. What does AI in the future look? First of all, nobody cared about AI 10 years ago. You know what I mean? There was some machine learning,
Maybe a handful of PhD students. That's about it.
handful of PhDs.
Yeah.
But the thought of the future with technology is Jetsons and
Yep.
the Back to the Future.
Yep.
They put the little packet in the microwave and it came
Uh,
out the full turkey dinner and everything. That's
right.
not, I think.
Uh,
But what's wild is, like I said, I was talking about earlier, the sales, the bread and butter were the campaigns, automated
right.
outreach. One of the things that I think is interesting now is we've seen some success of literally having people go out and knock on doors and have conversations.
That's great.
And
Yeah. That's
I
old school.
honestly, but isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild if that's what AI does?
Yeah.
Is our way of becoming all this tech focus and everybody's got a wearable device. We are the devices, right? That's what
Right.
everybody thinks it's going to be. Isn't it going to be wild if what AI does is separates us more from the computers and puts us back into a position where it's better to be a person to person communication?
Yeah.
How for all the dystopian everybody's worried about, wouldn't that be wild if that's the way
Mhm.
AI really impacts us the most, is by
Right.
forcing us all closer
Yeah.
together?
It becomes a forcing function for humanity.
Yeah, pretty interesting. But it's like I said, that's the other thing, like with sales, right? I think I see more of a focus for conferences and meetups and
Absolutely. Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
hours and
Yeah, especially because I think you bring it up the point to where AI is becoming so good with some of these outreach mechanisms and automated responses and stuff. It then becomes the new noise
yeah.
in the channel. And then so now events face to face and things like that become the outliers that actually draw people's attention.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always a challenge with it. Technology changing, that's a challenge with
Right.
it. We're pretty adaptive for that. Our workforce is really built for AI. We do tons
Yeah,
of AI
right.
projects. So that all works really well. We've really only, I would say, the past 2.5 years is when 2 years realistically is where we've ever really tried to scale. Our model was so different. We spent so many years of just doing a project at a time and pulling
Right.
different levers to see what worked and what didn't until we really felt comfortable that we
Right.
had all the moving parts
Right.
worked out and we had a seamless product in place. And that's why I say now it's like a service delivery engine, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's a
that's awesome.
resource delivery engine that we built for
Yeah.
this. But 2 years really, we've tried to scale it, and literally the past 3 years we've doubled each year. So
That's
I mean
incredible. Great job.
we're doing well on that, and it's always a challenge to keep that sustained, growth that comes with
Right.
it. But for me, and maybe this is just the tiny bit that I've seen in this, I think it's you just always have to be ready to adapt. You have to be ready to adapt and
Absolutely.
evolve
Yeah,
with it.
it's incredibly powerful.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's like you and your origin story. That was a great big pivot, and
Oh
you
yeah.
pivoted into something really phenomenal and great. So, yeah. So, what are your biggest areas of success today, given kind of the momentum that you've had, and
Yeah.
where are you sitting at now?
Data and cloud have always been a real area of focus and success with us, right? We at any point in time we've got 3 or 4 big enterprise-wide cloud migrations or data analytic builds in place.
Right,
Google, AWS, Azure,
right, right.
IBM, even
Mhm.
IBM Cloud, right? That's always been a real strength for us. AI though, right? Last year it was all proof of concept, right? Everybody would call up and say, "Hey, you think it's possible that we could do so and
Right.
so with this?" And so, yeah, I think so. Let's do a
Yeah.
POC and let's see. So last year was proof of concept. This year's been production, right? It's
Yeah.
been,
It's
hey, that works
absolutely
really
yes, we can
well.
do it.
Board wants to go full
Yeah.
speed. How quick can we
Yeah.
do it? So that's been where we've seen the most success recently is refactoring these teams to build out these new AI use cases and agentic models and everything else.
Yeah,
So
that's cool. That's really cool. How do you find customers now who are willing to bet on this unproven talent, given
yeah,
your kind of talent pool model?
yeah. Word of mouth has always been a strong one for us. As we get bigger and we take on bigger projects, our testimonials are great for being
Right.
able to. So it's not coming from us, right? It's coming from somebody else that already bet on us and won big. Those are always good for us. But then we do everything that everybody else does. We do outbound SDR.
Right.
We'll do calls. We'll do in person, like I said. We'll do email campaigns. We'll do LinkedIn campaigns. We'll do everything that you can think of
Right.
to try to
Yeah.
find customers. And
Yeah.
that's, like I said, always a challenge for that. But yeah, we're definitely having to get creative these days. Very creative.
What's the bigger challenge? Is it the sales piece or the talent piece?
It's the talent. I don't have any issue. Like I said, I'll put a rec out. I literally, since we've been on this episode here, I literally just had a person reach out to me that said they got referred in and sent their resume
Oh, very
over.
cool.
You know what I mean? I have
Yeah.
customers all the time that they'll refer people
So
over.
you've got your constant pipeline then. That's
I
good.
have a constant pipe. That was the goal, right? Is
Yeah.
we want to have a pipe or a pipeline primed so that we
Right.
always have people to be able to pull in on engagement. So it's for sure it's the sales side, right?
Right.
Of finding the customers for it. But the other great part is, generally once we're talking to somebody on it and they have a project, we're going to do the work, right? Like
Right.
we've got the
Right.
test, we've got the track record to show the success
Right.
on it. We've got the documentation in place for it. We're quick. We can get
Mhm.
up to speed and rolling on an engagement almost immediately. If we can get in front of and talk to somebody on it, generally we're going to do a project.
That's good. That's good.
It's just
For
that
close rates,
our close rate's very high, but getting in front of somebody to have that discussion, that's always the tricky part with it. There's just the market's just so flooded with information. It's about how to
absolutely.
break that cycle.
It's that no the noise, being able to
Sure.
stand out in the noise. Yeah, absolutely. So what are your growth goals right now? And what do you see as the biggest struggles related to those?
We're trying to keep the double train going. And like I said, past 3 years, we've doubled every year. We want to keep that going this year. We're on
Right. I
track
think
for
that's a
it.
good goal.
We're fingers crossed, right? I expect we'll be able to do it again, knock on wood, but I would expect we're going to be able to keep that going. I read an article a couple months ago and it said 13% of AI use cases make it to production. They had some numbers that went in back that up. And I read that and then I think about us. We're crushing them. We've had every single AI project that we've taken on has made it to production. Every single
That's really
customer's
good.
AI
Yeah.
project. So I want Tekletics to become known as the company that you call up to build out your AI use case, do your integrations, build your agents to go do whatever process it is, train your workforce on it, retool your workforce. That's the
Right.
other part of the model where we've done it. We've a team has a team that's being displaced by something, bring them on over to us and we'll pair them up with senior subject matter experts and we'll retool your workforce. I want us to take that torch where
Yeah.
we do have the track record of success that the industry as a whole doesn't. So,
Now, looking at your experience with AI, and early on when you had your talent coming on and you're training them in more traditional software development versus these days you're coming in and they're getting ramped up to speed on AI.
yeah,
Is their ability or their speed of growth similar between the two, or is just the growth in AI quicker or slower, or what are you noticing?
it depends. And it depends on the customer too, because different customers don't want people doing the same things in AI. So I think it does depend. And it depends on, I was talking to somebody about this earlier too, that there's different tools out there that you can
Right.
leverage to obviously be more productive. ChatGPT and one
Hmm.
of there's a lot
Right.
of tools out there that you can use. And from an IT perspective, there's IDE, integrated development
Yep.
environments that you can use to write code faster. There's the just even you look at something like VS Code, right? That they can
Right.
work well. You
Right.
add Copilot into it, you can do some
Hmm.
things. Then you've got the AI IDEs like Cursor or Lovable or something like that. What's interesting is you can take a person, right, that doesn't have any experience and they can start writing code in that, and it's such a scary thing, to be honest with you. It really is. The story
Right.
I found somebody earlier was when OpenAI, they came out with the model or the app version that lets you talk on the phone. Remember when they did that? I've got a 9-year-old, and he was third grade at the time. And so when I remember he came home from school one day and I was like, we're going to try this, right? And I pull it up and I'm like, listen, I've got my son here. He's in third grade. He's got his math homework out. I want you to help him. He's gonna talk to you here in a second. I want you to help him with his homework. I don't want you to give him the answer, right? But I want you
Right.
to do it. And it's
Oh,
okay,
that's incredible.
waiting for him. So he starts talking and so take a picture of the problem. So he takes a picture of the problem and it's okay. And then it starts walking through how to do it. Now, he could have, or I could have, right? And at some point, like, I'm going to have to protect against this and his internet, so he doesn't.
Okay.
But he could have taken a picture of that and just done that and said, solve this for me. The problem is people entering the workforce now can do that too. And
Right.
it's going to be at their detriment for sure.
Right.
Our people that come in, I don't say, hey, don't use AI, but I say, listen, AI is going to solve some of this stuff for you. What you need to do is anytime you don't understand something, you got to look it up. You have to be able to
Right.
understand some
Right.
of this stuff.
Yeah.
And to the point where I'll call them out. We'll be on a call for whatever, and I'll see somebody build something. I'm like, boy, that's awfully advanced. Right? I say, hey, explain
Right.
this. And I'll call them
Exactly.
out right in front of her. And they're like, AI did it.
I have no idea.
AI did. I chat GPT'd it.
That created the semaphore. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I think, honestly, there is a responsibility for existing leadership and existing
Yeah.
seniors in these different fields where it's our responsibility to make sure that we reinforce some of the reasoning and the process and everything else for this new generation of people that are coming into this market and using the AI tools to make sure that they don't lose some of that foundational knowledge.
Absolutely.
Super,
Yeah.
super critical piece to this. But it's
Yeah.
one of those things that we do, and it's obviously it's a challenge with that. But I think it's an important piece, and I think it's a AI responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's definitely an interesting topic. And I think it's going to be so critical going forward for organizations,
Yeah,
and it's going to be one of the differentiators is the ones that can master that
yeah,
and let it enable their employees rather than do the work for them, I think will be critical, you know.
yeah. No, me too.
So what does success look like for the next 12 to 18 months for you? And what needs to happen inside of Tekletics to get that done?
Yeah, 18 months, right? I expect we're double revenue this year. We're on track for it from what we were last year, and then 12 months after that, I expect that we're gonna be able
Right.
to keep that thing going. We need to we need to get a more robust pipeline to be
Right.
able to keep that train moving from where we sit with it. And
A
we are,
customer
right? I mean,
acquisition pipeline?
we've got to the sales pipeline, right? We
Right.
have to make sure we're getting in front of more customers. We need to get better in marketing, right? We need to start doing more. One of the things I started doing is I'd post articles and things like that. And then I was like, I don't even like reading the articles on it, right? I want to see somebody build something. So I just
Right.
started building stuff myself and then posting it out there. And I even do it for, like I said, I've got a kid that's into tech. You can see stuff back
Right.
here.
Yeah, I see all your,
This is his little 3D printed robot arm, right?
uh-huh.
Keep it up there
That's
so he
awesome.
doesn't break it.
Yeah.
But we took that thing down, and I do lots with AI, obviously. And he was like, we had it controlled so you can sit there and control it with the keyboard. You can move the arm and do all the stuff with it. And he was like, can you do this where you just talk to it with AI? I was like, gosh, I bet you can. So you can't have your kid come to you with something like that and then not do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Those are
So
the great
we took it
ideas.
down, we refactored the interface for it so that you can just sit there and talk to it and
That's
it moves
incredible.
itself around.
Yeah.
And I make videos on that just because I
Oh,
think
that's
it's
cool. Where do you post this at?
LinkedIn.
Oh, very cool.
I should do it on more. I post on like YouTube and
Yeah.
LinkedIn,
Yeah, that's
but
awesome.
but yeah, it's things like that. It's like I said, I don't know I don't know what is effective as far as building out a sales pipeline other than doing everything I can think of. It's
Right.
kind of the approach for it.
Yeah, the problem with that is limited hours, and there
Yeah,
with
yeah,
most of
and,
that stuff, there's a
yeah,
point of diminishing returns, and
sure,
yeah,
sure.
very good. I've definitely enjoyed this talk. That's all the questions I have for you, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, or I think I definitely would love to have another discussion some other time about how you're approaching AI with code development and stuff like that, and some of your lessons learned. And I think that's going to be a big avenue going forward.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to. And that's a thing,
Yeah,
right? That is, again, however I would answer that today, I would expect in 3 to 6 months, a completely
it'd be a
different
different
answer.
answer.
It's
Yeah,
just,
absolutely.
it's evolving that quickly, right? Where it's just, oh, we're going to see new tools, new techniques, new
Yeah,
policies and procedures
right.
for how you're supposed to do it, all kinds of lesson learned, and it's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah,
Hopefully
yeah, yeah,
getting better
absolutely. I
as
think
we
it
go.
will. That's a guarantee. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'd love to have that conversation for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Thank you again, Casey, for your time, and hope you have a great day and a great week.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
All right. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm Greg Jones. Thanks for joining The Capital Machine. Full transcripts and frameworks at thecapitalmachine.com. For direct access, gregory.jonesaprimsec.com. See you next week.